Hey guys, how's it going? CoreData here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to play some more cards, and we're taking a look at a very silly deck, Throp. So this is the list, and before we get into it, I very quickly want to address the fact that this is not a good deck. This is entirely built for fun. If you want a competitive Throp deck, we'll talk about that at the end of the deck intro. There are changes you can make to this to actually make it somewhat more competitively viable. However, I was very much in the mood of just having fun on ladder for the last week or so, which is what has resulted in this monstrosity of a deck. Again, it is not competitive. Do not play this deck expecting to win games. However, if you want to have a lot of fun and have some silly high rolls, this deck is absolutely worth playing. But what is Throp? Throp is, as you can imagine, an archetype built around units with 3 operation cost. It was an archetype kind of introduced in Blood and Iron through a few units, particularly for US and for France. The primary units for this deck and the things you're building around pretty much are Le Terrible. This is a 2-cost, 3 operation infantry. 3/4, when you deploy a unit with operation cost 3 or more, you draw a card. This basically forms the draw engine for the deck. You pretty much want to have a Le Terrible on board at all times. Basically turns all of your units into cantrips. So whenever you drop a 5/11th Airborne, or you drop a Moroccans or a Michigan, they basically just cycle themselves. Very, very potent effect, and one of the reasons you do play Throp. The second, and probably the most powerful card in Throp, is 13th Engineers Battalion. This is a Engineers Battalion, rather. It's a 2-cost, 1-op, 1/3 infantry with smokescreen. Gain an extra credit slot every time you deploy a unit with 3-op or more. Again, this combined with your cheap 3-op units ramps you so quickly to the point where you're able to very easily pull off very splashy, high-impact plays. Again, one of the most important cards in the deck. It is playable without 13th Engineers, but it is noticeably worse without 13th Engineers. Next up, we have 8 Moroccans. This is, again, another key piece of the Throp deck. This is a 3-cost, 3-op, 5/5. When you deploy another unit, your HQ gains defense equal to its operation cost. This is one of the tools that allows Throp to basically stay in the game versus aggro. Moroccans being a 5/5 means it's very difficult to remove through combat. And the fact that all of our units basically heal us for 3 when they come in, even though they cost 1 and 2 credits, is pretty big. So yeah, Moroccans is in here mainly as a defensive tool for aggro decks, but it also matters against decks like Burn. Moroccans can really pull you out of range of decks like Navy Burn, for example. And finally, the last Throp unit, or one of the last Throp units in the deck, is 2nd Michigan. Of course, this card needs no introduction. It is currently everywhere on ladder with the Germany-US deck. 4-cost, 3-op, 6/6 with Blitz. Gain 2 credits when you operate a unit with 3-op or more. Basically, for 3-op units, it turns their operation costs from 3 to 1, essentially. It doesn't work quite like that because it refunds 2 credits after they've operated, so you need to have the credits in hand already. But that's essentially how it works. Super important value piece for the deck. It basically turns our restrictive operation costs into much more manageable operation costs, allowing us to take the front line and cause huge tempo swings. So Michigan, super relevant creature in that sense. Also, it's a 4-cost 6/6 with Blitz, so it's very relevant for removing things that are problematic in the front line on turn 7, especially when we're ramping. We get to 7 credits very quickly. So why am I saying that this deck is bad? So this is a hyper greedy build of Throp. Okay, so most builds of Throp are one of 2 ways, essentially. They are usually kind of ramp with some bombs and Throp as a backbone, or they're, like I've built, hyper greedy value grindy decks. This version of Throp is built because I built this version of Throp because I wanted to play a very specific card, and that very specific card was Mayhem. So Mayhem is a 4-cost order, choose a unit in hand, swap with a friendly unit on the battlefield. Mayhem represents everything I love in card games, being ridiculous mana cheating, allowing you to basically pull off absurd plays. In recent memory, one of my favorite Magic the Gathering cards was Smuggler Surprise, for the exact reason that it could let you cheat in massive creatures for pretty much no investment. And Mayhem does this. So the deck is built around Mayhem. So in order to build around Mayhem, we have to be super greedy, which is why our top end looks as ludicrous as it does. Again, not a competitive deck. Don't play this deck if you want to win games. Play this deck if you want to have fun. So our goal pretty much is to land a Mayhem on turn 4 and then either drop an M6, a P51, or an M26 Pershing. That is the entire game plan for this deck. and it is able to pull it off relatively consistently. It's it's again super inconsistent but incredibly fun. Being able to drop a P-51 in turn 4 is hilarious and has won me a couple of games against slightly slower decks like Germany US, for example. But that's the entire point of the deck, is to essentially cheat things into play with Mayhem, while also being a Throp deck to generate value, essentially. But yeah, not too much to say about it on that front. I do want to talk about a couple of more cards in the deck. We're playing 511th Airborne. This is a great activator for Throp units. So 1 cost 3 op, 3/2 with Blitz and Shock. Reduce the operation cost by 3 after it shock attacks. This is one of our cheapest Throp units, and it is one of the best activators for things like Terrible, for things like 13th Engineers, and for things like Moroccans, because we can play them so early and play them in numbers. We're playing 3 copies, could play 4. You could also play the 1 cost French Guard, being the 152nd. So 1 cost 3 up Guard, cannot be deployed unless you have 6 or more credits. Slightly slower, a bit worse against aggro. At least with the Airborne, we can very easily get it down and attack into something in the front line, while also maintaining a body. We're also playing a little bit of Natural Ramp in the deck, being 4 copies of War Machine and 1 copy of War Bonds. Again, we are ramping off of our Throp units with 13 Engineers, but it's nice to have a bit of guaranteed ramp in the deck in the form of the War Machines and 1 copy of War Bonds. Normally you'd run 2 copies of War Bonds, but I have had to make room for some of the memes, so I've had to cut 1 copy as well as a bunch of our interaction. Like I said, this is not competitive. Do not play this deck if you want to win. But yeah, the rest of the deck, like I said, is value and interaction. So we are playing Hellcat, solid removal, solid aggressive body if we need it later on. Pathfinder is a great disruption as well as removal. Research is fantastic value. It has synergy with the American Guards, which I'll talk about in a moment. Frequently against aggro, we're taking depth charges. Against other decks, we're going as far as nukes. We're only running 2 copies of Calliope. You could run 3 copies. Again, this is I had to trim copies to fit some of the memes, so 3 copies is customary normally, and I would recommend upping the amount of Calliopes, especially with the amount of aggro in the metagame right now. The American Guard is one of the only cards this deck got from Naval Warfare. 4 cost, 3 op, 6/7 deployment, choose a card in hand, convert the top card of your deck into it. This is very potent alongside military research. I have had games where I have played this, copied the research, cracked my original research for depth charges, and then gone for nukes later in the game once I've stabilized. Very relevant. Also very good with the rest of our top end, just making an extra copy of a Pershing, making an extra copy of an M6, making an extra copy of like a P-51. Very, very relevant. Call to the Colonies is just great in the metagame currently. Health gain and card draw, very solid. Bar Mafia is not great. It's a lot worse since the rotation of production order. We lose a lot of lethality in that sense, which is kind of why Throp has fallen off the map. But the little bit of interaction and value generation is very, very good. Victory March just helps us cheat mana costs and gives us a bunch of healing. Being able to deploy a board full of very high op cost units, so like Moroccans and Airbornes and Michigans, and then Victory Marching, gaining a ton of health and getting a ton of tempo from the 0 op cost that turn. Very relevant, super powerful. Cyclone Division, 6 cost, 3 op, 8/8. Deployment add a Sherman to your hand, becomes veteran if you've deployed 2 Shermans, and then the veteran version is a 0 op 8/8 that adds a Sherman to your hand at the start of your turn and gives it blitz. This is again in here mainly because it is 1, a value generator, and 2, it is really good to get off of Mayhem early. Mayheming in a Cyclone Division into the front line in certain matchups is very relevant. It's in here primarily for redundancy with Mayhem, just in case we haven't drawn one of the big bombs that we want to play. Realistically, this card isn't great. This is one of the cards I had to cut to make room for. I would recommend, if you want to play a more competitive version of this deck, drop Cyclone Division and play more Calliopes and some amount of supply priorities. Cyclone Division isn't necessary in the deck. Again, I'm just playing it because it's fun. I wanted to have a bit more fun this week, so I've been playing a lot of silly stuff. So yeah, Cyclone Division is absolutely cuttable, but for this version, it's necessary if you want to have maximum fun factor. And then we have, obviously, the big Throp bombs. So we have M6, 7 cost, 3 op, 7/7 heavy armor 2. Your HQ takes 1 damage for each of your units with 4 or more attack. This is actually really relevant in a couple of matchups, primarily being like Commandos, Navy Burn, as well as aggro. Cheating this into play early is game-ending versus those decks, specifically against like Navy Burn. This really screws over Navy Burn hard. Cheating this in versus other slower decks as well is super good. There's a game in this video where I cheat this in early against a Handlock deck and they just can't answer it. Heavy Armor 2 is really difficult to deal with, but it lacks Blitz, so playing it naturally is quite slow. But again, it screws over certain decks in the metagame, so it is worth looking at. P51B is another value creature and another great target for Mayhem. Traditionally not seen in Throp, it is a much more mid-range unit than it is in a value or control tool. But it's fine in this deck. Like I said, we're trying to have a critical mass of things to cheat in with Mayhem, so P51B makes the cut. Seaborne Invasion kind of sucks, but it's a big thing. It's a big splashy elite. It's our mass deployment at home, unfortunately. Again, terrible card. You can probably cut this very safely and play something much better, but I'm playing it because it is fun at the very least. Again, like I said, I didn't build this deck to win that many games. I built it to have as much fun as I could. And finally, M26 Pershing, 10 cost, 3 up, 8/8 Blitz, Heavy Armor 2, while in the front line your HQ can't produce below 1. This, again, is very good at screwing over decks like Commandos as well as Navy Burn. Navy Burn cannot deal with this in the front line. Navy Burn has pretty much 2 suppressions in the main deck, and that's all the interaction they have for cards like this. So you're frequently going to stick an M6 or a Pershing versus that deck. And again, if you mayhem this into the front line early, it's very difficult for a lot of decks to deal with. Again, decks like Germany, US, they struggle to answer big, beefy cards like this. So yeah, Pershing, just very, very powerful effect, very good in the metagame as well currently, and it's probably the biggest and best thing you can cheat in with Mayhem. So yeah, aside from that, not too much to say. Like I said, you could cut the Cyclone Divisions, you can cut the P51, and you cut Seaborne Invasion. I'd recommend playing more copies of Calliope. You can run supply priorities as well. This is very good currently as well versus the Japan decks. It's very good. Like, it clears up TK early, clears up Cavalry Regiment, and a few other one-health units. As well as being relevant in slower matchups by healing your board can be really, really relevant. If you take a bunch of trades and then supply priorities, heal your board, your opponent is kind of stuck. Keeps things out of range of like Crossfire, for example. You could also, like I said, run the 152 Regiment, Guard 3/3, cannot be deployed unless you have 6 or more credits. It's a bit worse than Airborne on average because it has a restriction for when you can play it. However, when you can play it, it is better because it just comes in and immediately just sits there as a guard. So yeah, this is a potential card you could run. You could also run Free French Navy if you want more cycle as well as a bit of healing, but I didn't think it's necessary. Like I said, I was maximizing the amount of memes I was playing in this deck, so we had to make concessions somewhere, and if that means cutting a few playables, so be it. But yeah, like I said, not too much to say about the deck on that front. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and on some games. Up against Germany. Oh, wow. You know what? Sure, I'll be greedy. I'll keep all the ramp. Second Michigan. The Pershing would have made sense to keep if I had the Mayhem in hand. Got War Machine here. Next turn, double War Machine. It's Handlock. They can route and fog this if they want. So, actually, interestingly, the American Guard gets around Fog of War. Second route. Suppression, okay. Plus Blackwatch. Play the M7, there's not that many good answers. Gonna go Michigan here. Yeah, heavy armor 2 is very difficult to deal with. Arado, they can potentially suppress it. A Hiprit. Let's see. I can Mafia this, right? I can. Do I want to Mafia this? I don't think so. Guess I'll just push the 1-3 forward here. KFC Pack takes out the Michigan, which is fine. I just need to be wary of capitulation the entire time. Go Bomber Mafia here. We'll take the Mitchell. I could play the second Mafia to clear this up. Take Marauder. Because next turn I can go Marauder plus Mitchell. I could put another Cyclone on top, actually. Putting another Cyclone on top with tag means that even if they capitulate, I'm still gonna have a big bump in value on top. This has to be capitulated now. Because Comet's only going to get in, is only going to get in for 1 damage. Devil's Brigade. Crossfire. Crossfire kill the M7. Push tag. I will play one of the Cyclones. Because next turn I can play Marauder plus Cyclone. Blackwatch. Baker Street Regulars. This is fine because B26 plus Mitchell clears Blackwatch. Again, comes down to if they have capitulation here. Why didn't they attack? Why didn't they attack with the Comet? Anyway. Against Germany. I'm just gonna keep the ramp here, pitch everything else. Okay, so it's Germany, US. Let us see if we're gonna get high rolled out of this one, chat. What I'm hoping for off the top here is a number 13. Oh, well, ask and you shall receive. So Cardra gets some ramp. Damn, I should have just been asking this whole time for what I wanted. Crazy. Have we got a second route for this? Okay, crossfire. Wow, perfect crossfire. Because it always is a perfect crossfire. We'll go for M6. Kriegsmarine. Yeah, next turn I do the second Michigan thing, if the M6 survives. Does not survive, but at least that is a capitulation gun. Two. Find ramp plus strat bombing. So I've just seen them burn a capitulation, which means they have to now burn a Michigan if they want to clear this. 1 to 3 plus Michigan. Plus 108, okay. Is this lethal? It should be, yes. Nice. Alright, they didn't have the high roll. Thank God. Up against Germany. Okay. So... just ship these two, and I will keep everything else, I think. Crassier is great on turn 2 here. I could also just ramp. Okay, so it's Germany-US, naturally. There is only one deck in the game, and that deck is Germany-US. It's a double War Machine. Go War Machine, and we will go for Crassier. And they have the War Bonds. Let's see if they have the 1, 2, 3s plus Michigan this turn, shall we? Okay, no. 20 Panzer Grenadiers instead, which is just as good. Go for route on the Terrible. Bomber Mafia. Still 2 turns off of it. We'll draw 2 here this turn, I think. '13th is a fine top deck. Combined Arms can take out my 4/4, it's fine. We're going to go for a 13th. We're going to go Terrible. We're going to go Michigan. Find our second Bomber Mafia. Expecting to see capitulation here, most likely. 108 Panzergren. Plus suppression on the ramp piece. Okay. Cyclone Division. Oh, Bomber Mafia first. See what we find. Mitchell is a fine find. We just play our Mitchell in the routed troop. Africa Corps. No snap pick this time. So either all the options are good or all the options are bad. Leopold. So we can go Bomber Mafia. I mean, I can kill it with the M14, right? Or the M18, rather. I'm also pretty sure that Leopold came off of Africa Corps, so there's still another Leopold in their deck. One, 2, 3s, yeah. Second Michigan, yeah. Suppression. Once again on the ramp. Ooh, Missouri is a good draw. Which one use? 1, 2, 3 is this one. So I can go here. Go Missouri. If I go Cyclone, I'm drawing 2 plus the card for Cyclone, so I'm down to 5 up to 8. Find Michigan. I'll play the M4 Sherman. Like I said, they have another Leopold left in the deck. We can clear this. Thankfully, we have a Michigan plus a second Hellcat. We're going to start leveling up our research here. And we have Cyclone double Calliope, so we can activate our Cyclone Division. War bonds. This needs to die. Go Bomber Mafia. Find Mitchell. We will play the Mitchell. Set this face. We will play War Bonds. Go for Cyclone. Firefly's actually not a bad draw here. If they find, like, Blitz Doctrine off the top. Or a Panzer, for example, that has exactly 5 HP. Cool. Alright, so we go Firefly. We go Calliope. Cyclone pushes forward. We'll play the M... Do I play the M6? See, I'm expecting... I still haven't seen Capitulation, right? So I'm expecting Capitulation. I'll just pass to that, because they have to get rid of the Cyclone Division. So there's no point committing more to the board here. Schutzen. Takes out the Firefly. 1, 2, 3s. Plus Bergman. Cycles a couple of cards. And another Bergman. Cycles another couple of cards. Pathfinders. Find M4A1. We will drop this. That's lethal, right? Nice. We got there. We were just had enough to outvalue them, thankfully. Soviets, okay. Don't get to see Soviets around very often. I'm gonna full ship. Bomber Mafia is not gonna be active early enough if this is aggro. Airborne at least gives me something to do early on. Just if this happens to be Soviet Japan. Soviet Germany, so it's like route synergies, I guess. I'll pass. If I top deck Mayhem next turn, I'm just gonna Mayhem in the Pershing. We don't, so we will go War Bonds. We will ramp. We'll just spend a Hellcat here. Another one. Le Terrible. So we know it's Germany ally. Another route for this Le Terrible? No. Okay. I'm just gonna drop Pershing here. Because realistically, how did I deal with the Pershing? So we can go Calliope. Can we go Calliope? I mean, yeah. Yeah, we can. We can do this way. Pathfinders. The Victory March. Did they not read Heavy Armor 2? It gets bounced by the Pathfinders. Go 13th. I will push this forward. I will play another Terrible. Draw some cards. Find Strap Bombing. Go call... No, I'll go Research here. I'll start cracking these. Then we'll call draw 2. Michigan and Cyclone. Or Cyclone rather, is great value. Victory banners being milled is gonna hurt like hell on this board. Okay, is able to take out the Pershing. Gets bounced back to hand though. Pathfinders can push forward. Go in for 2. Go Michigan. Find M6. And Moroccans. Crack this. And we will pass. They built another T-34. Clear off the Michigan. It just keeps getting bounced. Oh, okay. I will go for research here. Get the Manhattans. Yeah, the poor T-34s. Having to spend like 8 and 10 every turn to try and remove stuff only to have it bounced back sucks. Yeah, and then Dull Manhattan is GG. Oh man, what a silly game. Up against Britain. Probably Commandos, which is a horrible matchup for me. I'll keep a piece of ramp, I'll keep a Le Terrible, and I'll keep a Cuirassier, I think. Ooh, Engineers Battalion. So, it's most likely Commandos, but it could be Handlock. Intel. I don't think they can deal with Engineers Battalion. Is that Lovat Scouts? It is. So it's Britain Intel. Go here. So the top card of their deck is always Navy. I should probably remove this to turn off Blockade if they're playing it. Okay, so we know it is Poland for sure, because there was still a chance that this was it was something different as the ally. Let's see. I will go for Hellcat and I will kill this Lovat Scout, I think. Or will I? Because I can just go Cuirassier. Yeah, we're slowly getting pinged down by this this Lysander. Do they have Blockade? Second Lovat Scouts. Seaborne Invasion. Push this forward. Play some ramp. Scepter, that's fine. Pershing. Michigan. Yeah, so I can clear off this Lysander next turn if I want. I am trying to find strategic bombing is kind of what I'm digging for. But what's it called? I can't think. Bomber Mafia is also A-okay. I'll gain 8 here. Might be another Scepter. It is not. So I can do something absolutely hilarious here. I can I can push this, and we're gonna just dump a Pershing into play in the front line. Wolves Division is an answer for this, but it's the only answer they potentially have. Majesty's Chosen. Oh, hello. Do I have means of killing that? Not really. If I'm taking 2 from this Lysander now. We'll just do it like this. We'll protect Pershing. These don't count as commandos, do they? For the sake of something like infiltrate. Just killing Fusiliers. Goes for another Lysander. Strat bombing is a great draw here. Pershing can trade here. Hellcat trades here. I think we're good. Yeah, because we also have this M6, which switches off pretty much their entire deck. Dilemma on the Pershing. Punish hits Calliope, that's fine. Just go M6. Go Moroccans first. Find Cyclone Division. I will play Cyclone. Will I play Cyclone? Yeah, I'll play Cyclone. I don't need the M6 right now. And this leaves me open to actually still attack. Weird deck out of the opponent. I wonder if it's any better than Commandos though. Oh. Oh, desync. Oh no. Let me in. Let me back in. Okay, I have no idea what I just missed. Okay, so they pinned... Okay, so it was what, just Desert Dust plus Mosquito? So... trying to think. So I can go Bomber Mafia first, see what happens. Find Banshee, which is good. Push this forward. Ugh. Awkward turn, but it's fine. I'm okay taking a little bit of damage here. They could potentially carpet bomb me. Okay, so I'm guessing they have like Scepter or Ultra held up here. Clear these off. We'll go for Banshee. Mosquito. Push Cyclone forward. I could play the Sherman here. By Missouri and call. Push this forward as well. Yeah, I imagine they have to have like Scepter or something in hand that they're holding. Because they're floating 8 every time. These have to be countermeasures. Okay, yeah, National Fire Service. I figured it'd be something like this. And Missouri there just to test for Ultra. I'd rather get the Ultra out now. Okay, so they did have Scepter, they just didn't hold it up last turn. Okay, so I was correct to test for a counter. What a weird game. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, the deck is not super powerful. It does have some surprisingly positive matchups. It suffers against decks like Intel, naturally. Most decks suffer against Intel right now, aside from like Germany main decks. But yeah, it has some positive matchups. It has a glaringly negative matchup. But overall, it is super fun. Like I said, not very powerful, but incredibly fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said before, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.